We are going to start tonight in a minute with the most shocking news of the week. And it's not Iran related, so there you go. We have another notable first place trophy for the team over at Tesla. I think you'll find this one to be quite interesting. Jim Farley got the most shocking news of the week here. He says he made some recent comments in a car and driver interview. It was published earlier this week, and they highlight a significant admission from Ford's leadership about their EV shortcomings. He described being absolutely flabbergasted during a teardown of a Tesla, likely a Model 3, based on content from similar past statements. He says he took a look at it alongside Ford's EV chief Doug Field, who previously worked at Tesla and Apple. The key shock came from realizing how Ford's designs were hampered by legacy internal engine thinking. Specifically, the Mustang Mach-E's wiring harness was 70 pounds heavier and 1.6 kilometers, about a mile longer than Tesla's harness. Farley emphasized that Tesla engineers approach design without prejudice, optimizing for the smallest possible battery and overall efficiency, while Ford had defaulted to sourcing more parts from suppliers without rethinking the fundamentals. Such a key. But the question is, how does he miss it? This ties into broader realizations at Ford. Their early EVs like the Mach-E 150 Lightning and the E-Transit were well received, but they were overbuilt and too expensive, leading to customer resistance and massive financial hits, including a $19.5 billion write-down earlier this year. Actually, it was the end of last year. You're spot on. I'm spot on. I think what I want to say is here, influencer backlash is framing what happened here as bordering on incompetence. It's a common thread in the EV community right now that critics are pointing to the detailed public teardowns of Tesla vehicles that have come from Sandy Munro at Munro and Associates, who's been vocal about Tesla's engineering edges since at least 2018. And then the teardown titans who produce in-depth videos breaking down innovations in wiring, battery integration, castings, software architecture. For instance, Munro Live compared the Mach-E and the Model Y back in 2022, exposing similar inefficiencies and essentially humiliating Ford's engineering in public view. And so the argument is that Ford shouldn't have needed an internal teardown in 2025 to grasp these breakthroughs when third-party analysts have been widely shared and discussed online for half a decade. This sentiment echoes a broader commentary, with some calling it a sign of deeper strategic lags as legacy automakers failing to adapt quickly despite access to the same public insights that Tesla enthusiasts and analysts have been leveraging. Farley has acknowledged the humbling gap with Tesla and especially Chinese rivals like BYD. But the timing of his epiphany does raise eyebrows given how transparent the EV space has been. He could have just asked me. It's a stark reminder of how Tesla's first principles approach has kept them ahead while others play catch up, but not very well. If Ford's upcoming 2027 midsize EV pickup on a new platform delivers, it could validate the wake-up call has been heard. Otherwise, the criticism might only grow. It's understandable to appreciate Jim Farley's candor and leadership style. You know, everybody likes him. He's been upfront about Ford's challenges in a way that most legacy auto CEOs, they're like, oh no, we're better, like Mary. That said, the combination of his recent teardown admissions, highlighting Ford's outdated design prejudices, and the escalating quality crisis does indeed form a potent double whammy that's drawing scrutiny. Institutional investors aren't ignoring it. In fact, the evidence points to active monitoring with mixed reactions that blend concern over near-term risks with optimism about Ford's pivot strategies. Here's a breakdown based on recent developments. Quality issues and their impact. Ford's quality problems have intensified in early 2026, building on a record-breaking 153 recalls in 2025 that affected over 12 million vehicles. By February of 2026, Ford had already issued 7 new recalls. Leading the industry again, the most notable was a massive February 26 recall of nearly 4.4 million vehicles, F-150s, Super Duty trucks, the Expeditions, Mavericks, Rangers, Lincoln Navigator, and E-Transits, due to a software glitch that could disable trailer brakes and lights, increasing crash risks. That was a hard sentence to say. This ought to be used in a class on diction. This alone triggered warranty claims and regulatory probes, with NHTSA expanding investigations into issues like F-150 transmission failures. These weren't isolated. They've compounded perceptions of systemic quality control lapses, especially in software and electrical systems, across where Ford's legacy ICE focus has left it. It's left it vulnerable as it shifts to EVs. Despite this, Ford paradoxically boosted employee bonuses to 130% in February, citing improvements in initial quality. Critics argue this ignores broader reliability trends, and the ongoing recalls could erode brand trust in core segments like trust. No kidding? The EV strategy overhang layered on top of this EV is the EV teardown shock that we just talked about. Ford's slower adaptation to Tesla-like efficiencies ties into a massive financial hits. Ford's reported $8.2 billion net loss for 2025 because of that $19.5 billion write-down and the cancellation of several programs. EV sales plummeted 71% in February of 2026, contributing to a 5.5 overall sales drop. Farley has acknowledged customer demand isn't materializing as expected, projecting EV profitability only by 2029. Combined with peers like GM and Stellantis, the industry has racked up over $50 billion in EV impairments in the last 6 months. Well, what are the institutions saying? Yes, big investors are tuned in. This isn't flying under the radar. Ford stock has declined about 6% year to date as of March 5, although the market's down, 3, so that's not too bad. Closing at $12.34 after a 3.67% drop just on the 5th. It fell 5.3 immediately after the 4.4 million vehicle recall announcement, reflecting worries about warranty costs, execution risks, and supply chain disruptions. Over the past week, shares are down 10.6%, with market cap at around $49 billion. So bearish takes. Seeking Alpha downgraded to a hold in February. Recalls are seen as testing quality controls, potentially diverting resources from EV investments and pressuring margins. CEOs like Farley face a thin margin for error amid investor impatience with EV promises. What about the bulls? Well, Bank of America is reiterating a buy rating with a $14 target, praising Ford's shift to affordable EVs via a new universal EV platform, and strong 2026 pickup demand. It's the year of the pickup. NASDAQ's Zacks notes that while recalls sting, Ford's hybrid strength and their liquidity buffer the outlook. Interestingly, shares rose after the 19.5 write-down announcement as the investors viewed it as a realistic reset. Hedge funds activity shows net buying. 808 institutions added Ford shares during the latest quarter versus 767 that reduced positions, with majors like Vanguard and BlackRock holding steady. Discussions on X highlight investor frustration with EV losses, but they also see the opportunity in Ford's truck dominance to find a recovery. Overall, institutional eyes are wide open to the risks contributing to recent volatility, but many see this as a transitional phase, with Ford's core ICE profitability buying time for fixes. If quality stabilizes and affordable EV push deliveries higher in 2027, sentiment could flip. Otherwise, pressure mounts. All right, we also have the 2026 Lead the Charge Leaderboard Report, which was released early in 2026 by a coalition of climate, human rights, and investor groups. They were evaluating 18 major global automakers on their progress towards equitable, sustainable, and fossil-free electric vehicle supply chains. This is not a group I would normally associate with or give money to, but I thought it'd be fun to see what they're saying. So they had data that was through July 2025 in its fourth annual edition, and they assessed companies via over 80 indicators across two equally rated sections: fossil-free and environmentally sustainable supply chains. And they focused on GHG emissions, low carbon materials, low carbon like steel, aluminum batteries, and human rights and responsible sourcing, addressing due diligence like workers' rights, indigenous peoples' rights, and transition minerals. The reported purpose is to define a true clean car, an EV with respectable low impact supply chains, and track industry transformation amid electrification. And the scores are a percentage based out of 100, prioritizing implementation, evidence over policies. What did they actually do, not what they said they're going to do? And these are drawn from public disclosures like sustainability reports. Key findings show steady but uneven progress. The industry's average rose to 25%, up 3 points from 2025. And that's the third consecutive increase in a row, with general approaches nearly doubling, their overall policies getting better by double since 2023. However, issue-specific ideas like decarbonizing steel, aluminum battery circularity, aluminum and battery circularity, although battery circularity is huge, indigenous rights advanced more slowly, averaging just 18% overall versus 43% for general subsections. Well, who got the top overall rankings? Well, that would be Tesla. They got 49%. They were leading in batteries and emissions disclosures. Ford came in next with 44 to 45%. Volvo was after that at 40 to 44. Mercedes all the way down to 39 to 41, and Volkswagen 34 to 39. So the U.S. makers, well, at least Ford and Tesla, did very, very well in this, coming in 1, 2. So Ford, not so great in quality, but they're doing a great job with indigenous peoples. U.S. automakers averaged highest around 38%, followed by European, Chinese, and Japanese lagging, but showing strong improvements. BYD and Geely had increased by 9 points each. Standouts include Tesla's disaggregated battery emissions data and Volvo's fossil-free material targets. Laggers like Toyota, GAC, and SAIC score scored approximately 5% with regressions. GMD dropped due to no sustainability report at all. The report concluded that electrification drives supply chain cleanup, but average performance remains low, with no company exceeding 50% overall, although Tesla was very close. It urges targeted strategies, transparency, supplier enforcement, and emulation of leaders to avoid greenwashing, and just to meet regulatory demands. Clean, rights-respecting EV supply chains are within reach, but they're less than 50% at this point. All right. And I think that's all I'm going to do right now. Brian and I just talked about the NISTA thing. I have that down for something else to talk about, but quite frankly, I think we've done that. All right. So what do I want you to do tonight? I'm always asking guys to do something. So what I'd love for you to do is, I didn't say anything 3 hours ago when Brian was on about his new venture. And I think we've already had 10 people sign up. So that's pretty good. 10 people that have had conversations now with Brian, 2 of which are planning to make investments with Brian. And when I say investments with Brian, he has a certified associate, but Brian is working on a certification. But basically, Brian's got some extremely clever ideas that are not what you would call, they're not abnormal. They're just kind of the under the radar kinds of investments that people might want to put 5 or 10% of their portfolio in. Anyway, if you're a qualified investor and you'd be interested in talking to Brian one-on-one about those, the information is down below. You can check it out right there. And then if you didn't listen to Brian's video just a little while ago, it was really, really good. We did talk about the NISTA thing. We talked about quite a few things that I think you would have found extremely helpful. So I'll put the card up to go back and check out what Brian had to say. Tomorrow, normal Saturday, we'll have Cern Basher Yeah, we'll yeah, whatever his name is, Phil Beisel. We will have the Saturday afternoon news show. So 3 shows tomorrow. So check those out. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Hit notify, and you'll be notified of all those shows tomorrow. 3 a day, 7 days a week, 90 shows a month. Nobody, I don't think, puts on more shows than me in the Tesla community. I'm not bragging or complaining, but that's just the truth. All right, that's all I got for you right now. It has been great talking to you.